Oh, hey guys.
Oh, hey guys, a little bit more than 15 seconds late, huh?
A little bit more. A little bit more.
We were
Spin, we got you.
talking. We were talking.
Lost track of time. Time flies when you're having fun.
That is true. That is true. Welcome, hashtag Nation Bills Mafia, and whoever else happens to be watching this. Probably the
Happy
Miami
birthday,
Dolphins.
Kyle.
Happy birthday, Kyle Williams. Yes, probably some form of the Miami Dolphin contingent due to what's been going on Twitter. Anyway,
Wow,
the
what's going on
game.
Twitter?
Oh, who knows what's going on, guys?
Mario with his luscious locks got us all in trouble.
Fans getting all twisted for no reason? No, that doesn't happen.
Oh, Fins fans bringing up titles? No, come on.
Yeah, but remember, Tua had that really nice 40-yard pass in camp with no one around. Remember that?
Yeah,
that was
did you see the fly route that he ran to Tyreek Hill last week? Come on.
Yeah, come on, guys. There's 2.5 guys on this dais that could do that. Okay, so let's not.
The 1.5 that can't. I just want to know.
Paul had to put a hell of a crow hop together to get that ball down.
Oh, you can suck it. You can suck it. I will say that it is such a wonderful, wonderful Twitter fodder to go onto Omar Kelly's Twitter following and just listen to him salivate over Tua Tagovailoa.
What was that about?
I don't know.
You see that at any high school like off-season workout, that drill. It's just the drop back, step up through the pressure, and then throw the ball into the net. And he whispers "goat" the second time he does it. Just like
I know. Well, because Skylar Thompson,
delusion.
Yeah, Tyler Scott Thompson laces one in, and Omar Kelly goes, "Now watch, Tua's gonna respond. Watch him respond," and he throws it into the net. Goat.
Like there's some kind of position battle going on right now between him and Skylar Thompson.
No.
Could you imagine like Bills fans being like, "Oh, Kyle Allen, look at that throw! Can you imagine what Josh gonna do? Will he respond? Him and his 9-figure contract. I wonder what he's gonna do when Kyle Allen steps into the pocket and delivers a missile."
Overrated. Yeah, it was great, isn't it?
What the hell happened to this show?
The greatest debate about the Buffalo Bills backup quarterback position is who makes Josh Allen a better cup of coffee. That's the only thing that you have to worry about right now.
To be a Bills fan and also picking on other teams' quarterback situations. Who'd have thunk? Look at us. Look at
us. Who'd have thought? Not me. Oh my God. So yes, like hashtag Nation Bills Mafia. Welcome. We're going to be talking about the Josh Allen Madden cover, and we're going to be talking about Von's comments today, saying he's going to try to avoid the PUP list and coming into the season ready. So he says he's healed and he's ready to go. I don't know. The guy must be a freak of nature if he's able to do it this early. We'll have to see that. We're going to discuss all of that tonight as well. As always, you can find all of our socials, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. All of our episodes will go to iTunes and Spotify. Tonight's show is sponsored by Mr. Rogers Homes in association with Crier.co. The Madden cover generated a lot of back and forth, especially on Twitter, as we saw guys with, Josh Allen doesn't deserve to be on the cover. He doesn't deserve to be on the cover. And those are the two covers. Obviously, they have the regular and the deluxe edition. We're going to be talking about that. I don't think the Madden curse exists anymore, but we'll definitely mention it tonight, though, guys. But those are the two covers that you have. This is courtesy of what website is this? I have no idea. Google, Microsoft
courtesy of the Google machine.
Courtesy of the Google machine. Little bit of debate in the chat, guys. Put in which cover is your favorite. Do you like the solo Allen, or you like the Allen with the fans?
So I have to admit, this is my first time seeing both. We were talking about that right before we came live. On the deluxe one, what's up with the helmet?
Yeah, that was they talked about that the helmet was an issue. They had to change his helmet because it's not the one that he wears, the face mask. So
and the one line's missing in the face mask, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And a lot of people were talking about, are those actually Bills fans? I don't think Allen makes it out of that photo shoot if they're actual Bills fans.
Well, no, they were. So Spin actually handled this in the comments section. So they went to a Bills backer bar in LA for the photo shoot. So they recruited a bunch of Bills.
Don't be surprised if that face mask isn't fixed by the time the game releases too.
Sure.
And I'll be honest with you, right? If you really were questioning whether they were Bills fans, just look to see if you can find a Buffalo Bills Pasadena sweatshirt that's tattered and torn. That's the color of shame. You know, that's what would be in there. You know that every single person watching this knows somebody who has Super Bowl memorabilia and still wears it to games. We all know somebody.
We all know that one uncle at the family reunions that wears the Bryce Pop jerseys.
Yep. Or the corduroy hat. The Buffalo Bills corduroy hat.
Oh my god!
So it looks like in the chat most people like the one with the fans, which I think in terms of a game cover, I'm with that. Like the version that I'll buy is probably going to be the one with the fans. But we were talking before we went live, like that standard edition with just Allen. That's a hard picture, man. I mean that's one you get into like an 18x20, frame it and stick it on your wall. See if you can get him to sign the white and the helmet, something like that. If you get a chance to get a Josh signature, but I mean that deluxe is just that's too cool from a fan perspective to not have that copy of the game. But I'm definitely going to be looking for that standard version to get it framed and put it up in the office, probably next to. I got to remember which way to lean. Probably next to McDermott somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, I like, and you brought up a great point. We tweeted it out too, Ryan. I sent a tweet out. I said, listen, the amount of people, I mean, as well as I do, and everyone who's really watching this, but if you're not a fan of the Buffalo Bills, when the Bills were in prime time and starting to get on the prime time, I think it started with that Thanksgiving Day game against Dallas. And the viewership that happened and the amount of Bills fans that go to away games now, and they drank Jacksonville dry the one year, when they finally went. The amount of this is very smart for EA on their part to put Josh Allen on the cover because of the amount of people that I've heard that are saying, wait, I got to get a PS5 now, or I have to get this game now, or people that don't even own a PS5, they're going to buy the game. Like, I can't imagine somebody saying, oh, wait, I have to get a PS5. Tua's on the cover. There's nobody saying that.
Omar Kelly will buy 3, though. No, I mean, I think, listen, last year was the first year that they did it, but every season ticket holder in the NFL got a free copy of Madden last year due to the partnership with the NFL. So knowing that I'm going to get a free copy of the game, I didn't buy Madden last year. I usually do, but I didn't buy it because I knew I'd be getting a copy of it. I'll get the free copy, but I'm still buying a hard copy for my collection because Allen's on it.
Yeah. I'm a big proponent of every 3 years with Madden, right? Because if you buy the games annually, you miss the little changes right along the way, the engine changes and things like that. I'm a big proponent of every 3 years. I buy it every 3 years because I just
now they're bringing your franchise back.
Sure. Yes, sir.
Oh, they're going to be doing hardcore cap work this year.
Oh yes,
by all accounts. Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna, I don't know that it's a bold take necessarily, but this is going to be repaid to EA. Right, like this is going to be the best-selling copy of Madden that they've ever had because you're going to have people out there buying games simply for the fact that Josh Allen is on the cover. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that I've ever heard. I'm pretty plugged into the video game scene for the most part. I haven't heard in past years of people buying a copy of Madden just because of who's on the cover. Right, it's usually like, oh, I buy it every year. It's like COD, right? I'm just going to buy the new version when it comes out, or it's Paul, like I haven't bought it in a few years. I just got a new console. Let me pick up Madden to go along with it. You're going to have people buying. I've seen people talking about buying 2 copies to have both covers this year, which is just insanity to me. But I think it speaks to Bills Mafia and how they rally around their team.
Yeah, we have to realize that it's a business, guys. Like the EA is a business, and for the fact, what does it sell for? Usually $54.99 when it first comes out. Is that usually the selling price?
Next gen stuff, they're going for 70 now. Next gen,
70. I mean, Paul treats his like the 2nd to 7th round picks in the NFL draft. He only does them for every 3-4 years on the rookie deal.
That's it. Well, and we could talk about the Madden cover, and I think all that's fun. And I think, when you start to unpack it, you're right. This is going to sell like hotcakes because people just love Josh Allen, whether they're a fan of the Bills or not. Josh Allen seems to be somebody that people connect with. But I also know for a fact that there's people who are on this call right now who have boxes of Flutie Flakes and Jacks, some of them on display, Joe.
He does have them. I will say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So Joe, around, probably see a couple of them, but
so like we're in playing Madden when you have like we have across all of us, we have a lot of kids between the four of us, right? So getting on and playing the game is sometimes challenging, but I could absolutely see myself getting it just to have it, right? Like whether I play it much or not, when is this going to happen again? Right? Like the KC got Mahomes twice, but they got Mahomes and then Mahomes with Brady. So does that really count? Like it does.
Yeah. I mean, it does. Sure.
Yeah, I think it does.
I mean, wouldn't you, if you as a Bills fan, wouldn't you take Allen with Mahomes? I mean,
Darnold.
I'd take it.
Rosen. I take Allen with Rosen.
Get out of here.
What? No, they put Allen and Fitzpatrick on it.
They just put that whole draft class up and just sing the Sesame Street song. Like one of these things is not like the other. Like one is successful.
Well, that being said, guys, this is the list. I mean, everyone likes to talk about the Madden covers, and actually, we have a list of, the Madden covers. So you look at, you got obviously John Madden started off in 2000. He was on it pretty much every year until in 2001, Eddie George graced the cover. And then actually prior to that, we were talking about it. The origin of the Madden curse was in 1999. The European release of Madden was Garrison Hurst. And like the next year, he like broke his ankle. So that was like the starts of the origin of it. And then when you see in 2002, Dante Culpepper, which he just went downhill after that. A couple of notes of this list: Ray Lewis and Richard Sherman, the only two defenders to ever grace the cover of the Madden series. Speaking
except
personally,
for Polamalu, right in that 2010.
Well,
that was that one
that's
where
right.
you could buy either version. I think if I remember right. Yeah.
They were both on. That was actually coincidentally the last one I've ever purchased. I was in the 2010 one was the last one I ever bought.
Whoa,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
You're too busy playing Rainbow Six.
I was too busy playing Rainbow Six. And it was funny. Yeah. I found it funny though. 2018, the Tom Brady one, they actually called it the GOAT edition.
They did.
Yep. Followed by the Jackass edition in 2019.
Yeah, like I'm looking at this list going, man, they did not choose wisely. You could Vic, Ray Lewis, like God, Vince Young was on Suicide Watch in 2008. Like that was a bad year. Like there's felons on this list.
There's the Brett.
and then there's Peyton Hillis.
Yeah.
And then Peyton Hillis.
A lot of one-year wonders on here. Sean Alexander, Peyton Hillis.
Don't you talk about Sean Alexander like that.
Hang on.
Watch
Sean
your
Alexander.
sinful mouth.
Come on, man.
What did I press some buttons that I didn't know I pressed?
Sean Alexander broke his ankle in 2007, came back, missed 6 games, came back, and was just never the same after that.
Alexander single-handedly won me a fantasy football league in 2006. So
yeah. So you have vested interest in it. I understand. That Paul, we were talking about it before, the Brett Favre edition in 2009.
Yeah,
you want to let the fans know about that one too?
Oh yeah, so they put Favre on there because they're like, well, we got to break the curse because it was not going well for them. Like it had not been going well. So they're like, oh, Favre retired, we'll put Favre on. So they made a cover with him in his Packers jersey, and then he signs with the Jets, and they're shit. They call all those back. Like, oh, we put the Jets on there. They're slapping whatever they could get on there. Yeah, and then the covers with him on the Jets. I think also, that's the only time a Jets player was on there was Brett Favre accidentally ended up on the Jets.
Yeah, and then the 25th edition, they had 2 releases. They had Barry Sanders and Adrian Peterson in 2014 for the 20. But what was the year that Johnson broke that record, where receiving yards in a season?
I think Calvin Johnson was immune to this.
Yes.
Right, he was just immune to this.
Yes.
Yeah, he was immune to everything. Well, I mean,
he's immune to everything.
In 2008, LaDainian Tomlinson was actually booked to do it, and the fans petitioned and got him off the cover. Yep. And Vince Young ended up on it instead. But yeah, like this was a legitimate thing in early to late 2000, where if you were going on the cover, it was like nice knowing you. Yeah. Right? This was a legitimate scare.
It was 2012 though, Mario. That was the year It was like he had 120 catches, almost 2,000 yards receiving.
Oh, okay. That was 2012 then. All right.
But 2013, not a bad season. 80 catches, 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns.
Poor guy.
Pretty good.
Poor guy.
Pretty good.
Yeah, and Spin brings it up. Didn't Favre lose his streak that year? Yeah, he did. He lost it with the Jets, right? Didn't he separate his shoulder? Was that what it was?
I thought he lost it in Green Bay before he went to the Jets.
I
thought
he
there
lost
was one game.
Jets.
Check us on that one, chat.
Yeah,
We'll go see on that one.
I'll take a look.
Calling if
But-
you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know two people. I don't know. Maybe it's just I'm losing my mind in my old age. I didn't know Gronk was on it in 2017. I didn't remember
Oh,
Gronk
yeah.
being on
I
it.
remember the picture. He's like yelling, like he's like, yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
remember that one. Yeah.
That was I
No
think
helmet,
2017 was the
Oh,
first year that they tried to put new graphics into it or do something. They did something different that year. And I didn't know. I remember when I was looking it up, it was that year that they were doing that.
Favre lost it in 2010 with the Vikings.
Oh, all right
You're
then.
both
Well, yeah,
wrong.
the next year he lost it. So, yeah, Lamar being on Lamar was the other one too. I didn't know Lamar was on it. I totally ghosted that. I had no idea he was on the cover.
Nobody remembers that Lamar was on there.
Well, wasn't that
Lamar does. Don't think that didn't come up in his contract negotiations.
I'm on the Madden cover, guys.
Remember-
So we look at
Remember
the
the
left
Madden cover. I
side.
got an MVP and a Madden cover.
Remember
Yeah.
3 years ago when I was good? Yeah, I might not be him ever again, but that's okay.
So the left side seems to be where a lot of the curse is, and the right side isn't. So,
Mhm.
so the Mahomes and Brady one, that was after they faced off in the Super Bowl, I think. Am I correct on that one? In 2021?
No, that would have been leading into the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
All right. Yeah, I'm losing my years on this. And then obviously Madden graced the cover in 2023 as a tribute to him. And then I know we got Allen. So I mean, everyone that's making a big deal about it, it's not though. It's really not that big a deal. It was a business decision made by EA to put Josh Allen on the cover. And as you guys stated, he's a popular guy, even if you're not a Bills fan. He's a very relatable figure, even though he's a
and
multimillionaire.
even the people who hate him love to hate him, right? Like it's.
Oh yeah, he
like,
generates content. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, I mean, I obviously as a Bills fan, I have no problem with it. I don't think that there's a curse. A lot of people are saying that the curse of Madden versus that there's a curse for the Bills and a curse for Madden. Maybe they'll cancel each other out. So maybe that'll work wonders for the Buffalo Bills. But I mean, Josh Allen is on the 2024 cover of Madden. Kudos to him. Kudos to Bills fans, and good showing on EA for the business decision they made to put him on the cover. So.
Yeah, I mean, good job to EA for saying let's figure out a way to make the most money possible. Yeah,
They normally don't
Good
do that. This is the first time.
yeah, sure it is. Sure it is.
You're gonna put me on the cover next
I
year.
mean, it's cool, right? I mean, it's not much more than that. I mean, it's really cool. It's no different than the Bills getting the max number of of night games last year and this year. It's just it's a sign that the Bills are a team that people want to watch, and that the networks and merchandise sellers are starting to recognize that. And it's just cool. It's a cool time to be a Bills fan, and anything beyond that until they go out and win a Super Bowl, I'll reserve judgment. But it's a cool thing to have stuff like this happen around the orbit of the team that you followed for decades.
Well, and if you look at it and look at the list, a lot of times it's, Pro Bowl players, right? That's sort of like the de facto's Pro Bowl player, but often they're Super Bowl or league MVPs or receive votes for league MVP, right? Like it's top shelf players. But in the last X amount of years, it's been quarterback for the most part, right?
Yeah.
And you do have to wonder at some point, it got brought up early. Does this end up costing an organization more money because he ended up on the cover of the most prolific sports game in video game history? Like Madden's it. Like it's gold standard. It's the gold standard for sports games. So, does this at some point cost you more money? Is it a contract negotiation thing? Because it feels like it probably would be, even though the team doesn't directly benefit from it, right? Like the team doesn't benefit from the sales of EA.
No, I think.
I mean, I gotta think there's something. I mean, to have your, it's not just the player, right? I mean, it's not like it's not a Nike commercial where there's no team branding on it at all, right? I mean, Bills are all over the cover, logos and names and all that kind of stuff. So there's got to be, I know obviously there's royalties coming to the league for the licensing agreement and stuff. There has to be some type of bonus.
See, I think the NFLPA and the NFL can sell the rights to that.
Could be. Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah, I put it up there. I put it up there with the Pro Bowl. I mean, I made 3 Pro Bowls. You know what I mean? I'm on the Madden cover. You know,
Well,
I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like Pro Bowls really isn't that big of a deal unless you're negotiating for yourself in that respect. But the Pro Bowl, to me, is like okay.
Well, there's incentives for Pro Bowls. Like
Pro Bowls matter now.
Teams had incentives for making a Pro Bowl. Like,
not only that, but it's part of the rookie contracts, right? So if you're going to 5th-year option a guy and they were a Pro Bowl player, that's more money than it would be if they were a non-Pro Bowl player. That's what the Tremaine Edmonds happening into that Pro Bowl cost the Bills like an extra $4 million. Like it was a lot of it was like a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think Josh Allen becomes a lot more valuable to advertisers than he has been with this.
Oh yeah, marketable.
I don't know how much. I don't know we're there yet, Paul. I mean, and the comment with Lamar Jackson, I think, was kind of tongue in cheek in terms of contract negotiations coming into play. But I could see a time. I mean, I can see a point where that it gets to there. But he definitely becomes more valuable in terms of marketing right now. I mean, he's got to be
commercials. Yes.
Well, I mean, he's got to have. I would assume he's to the point where there's got to be shoe companies knocking on his door wanting to do something with him. And those are kind of like when it comes to an athlete, right? Your own shoe line or some type of shoe tie-in, something like that. I mean, that is where you want to be. So we saw Mahomes get something in the last couple of years, and I think Allen's not too far behind from clothing brands and things like that.
You want. Yep, exactly.
Well, that's what I mean. It sells itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, especially when this becomes the best-selling copy of Madden ever. Like, they're going to be beating down the door to do business with Josh Allen.
Right. I still love the fact of why he picked Gillette. You guys know the story behind
because
that?
of the Patriots?
Oh, because
the Patriots Stadium.
Yeah, the Gillette sponsorship. Yeah.
Well, he owns that stadium too. Good for him. All right. That being said, probably going to go into a little bit of, Paul's wheelhouse as far as the PUP list, because I do not know what the heck that thing is. I don't care to know what it is. But Von Miller stated that he is quote unquote healed and is going to try to avoid the PUP list this year coming into week 1. Now, is this just him getting the fans excited? Is he actually going to be ready? I mean, he is a guy, unlike Tre'Davious White, who has had an injury before in his career. He knows what the mental hurdle is to try to jump over in order to try to get back onto the field and to do some of the things that he needs to do. But I'm going to hold off my comments until you guys go. Obviously, I want Paul to go first, then Joe, then Ryan hit cleanup. Paul, can he actually do this? Like, what the heck is going on? First of all, give me a little bit of a breakdown of the PUP list, and how could he avoid the PUP list starting the season?
So first off, just for starters, haven't we learned not to trust the things that Von Miller says to the media by now? Like, haven't we learned? Like, we heard that Odell, he's coming. I think that's a direct quote, wasn't it? Didn't he say he's coming?
Direct tweet, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, haven't we learned not to trust Von at this point? Like, he's a competitor, right? And he's been on this train before, right? So I'm sure he feels healthy and happy, but you put pads on, I think life's a little different, especially when you look at his age. And if you think the team's going to let him on the field that early in the season, I just don't see it, right? Like, I don't foresee a circumstance where they let that happen, regardless of how healthy he really is. Like, you saw what happened to your team without him. You saw what your team looked like with him. I don't think the first 6 games is a whole lot to sacrifice here. That's just me.
Yeah.
That's just me.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me talk to me about the PUP though, Paul.
So PUP stands for physically unable to perform. There's a couple different designations when it comes to PUP, but effectively what's going to happen is players that are on the PUP list are rostered, right? But if it's a preseason PUP list, right? You have access to team facilities, right? You can go to team meetings, you can do things like that, but you're not able to practice with the team. And that's same with injured reserve, right? Injured reserve players, same thing. You're not allowed to practice with the team. You're only allowed to do individual drills. But the rules when it comes to PUP lists are when you get to the active roster, right? So Joe, Ryan, when you start looking at what happens with the roster makeup, right? You're going to take 90 players, go to 53. Von any player being pupped creates a little bit of a dynamic shift because you got to kind of play roster tango, right? Because they have to be on the 53-man roster in order for you to pup them into the season, right? In the preseason, they don't count against that roster. You could pup the player, you can sign a player to replace him. He's not part of your 90, but regular season, different story. It's got to make the 53-man roster. Then you pup him then, and you can sign a player to replace him afterwards. Right. So the roster tango there, and I guess we'll start with Joe, then go to Ryan. Like, who on this roster are you cutting to make space for Vaughn? Like, it's a dangerous game to let players go off a very visible team.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen this before with the Bills and other teams where it's like, we're cutting you, but stay in the parking lot, right? Like, we know that they're coming back. But like you said, Paul, now the Bills are a visible team. They're out there, you know, a guy, and I know that you guys have covered this in hashtag sports bunch, a guy that's getting cut from a 13-4 team is a starter on a team like Houston or somebody of that nature. So you have to be really careful who you can cut. If that's the route they want to go, then you almost have to cut a player who has been in Buffalo for a while, who likes the culture, who you know will stay in Buffalo. So it might be a surprise name to a lot of people. But at the same time, you look at it and then you realize the reason why he's being cut is because they can trust him to not go to another team and sign for a little bit more cash or for a potential start because they like the culture in Buffalo. So you look down the roster and you say, who's been here? Shaq Lawson, some of these names like that who let's be honest, you could live without, right? I mean, if they do end up stabbing.
Oh, watch out. Ryan loves him from Shaq Lawson. You better watch out.
Ryan, don't hate me forever.
I mean, you saw they did it with a team captain, right? And Reed Ferguson.
So, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, those are the kinds of guys. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I'll go out and I'll be the one to say it. He's going to be ready week 1. He's going to start week 1. I don't think that there's any reason to. If he says he's healthy, by all accounts, I am assuming he's getting that from the doctors. He's done this once before, right? Don't forget 2013, he tore his ACL in December. He started week 1 in 2014, finished the season with 14 sacks and a Pro Bowl berth. So pretty good showing for a guy coming off an ACL injury.
Hey.
And I say that it not under, definitely understanding, right? That's 10 years ago, right? 10 years difference is a big difference in terms of body mileage, things like that. The reason I say that is what we saw with Trey White last year was it wasn't a physical reason that he didn't come back sooner than he did, right? It was the mental hurdle of, can I trust that I'm as healthy as the doctors are telling me? That's not going to be a concern for Vaughn, right? Vaughn knows what he feels like when he's healthy coming off of an ACL injury. He knows that, if they tell me I'm fixed, I'm fixed. If he says he's good to go, you don't bring a guy like Von Miller in and then dictate to him when he's going to get back onto the field after an injury. I just don't see that dynamic. I don't think that's why he's signed here. I don't know why. McDermott doesn't strike me as the type that would risk what that could cause from a leadership standpoint. I mean, a guy like Von Miller, he could walk away tomorrow and he's a Hall of Famer, right? So the idea of alienating him by saying, well, I know your doctors are saying you're good. I know you're saying you're good, but we're going to hold you out. I don't, from a workplace standpoint, that doesn't make sense to me. Why you would do that. And McDermott does not want to alienate his leadership. And Von, Hyde, Poyer, that's the defense. I mean, in terms of leadership, heartbeat, all of that. So I don't see him risking turning Von even down from 10 to 9 by saying, we're not going to play you even though you say you're good to go.
And do you think that, Von Miller's a player where there's a big difference between not playing Von and playing him 20% of the snaps, right? Week 1.
That's what I was saying. They could put him on a pitch count.
Yeah, put him on a pitch count because he's on a pitch count. He was on a pitch count last season anyway. It was just 50-60%.
His role in this team is a pitch count role, right?
Right.
So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely could see that, Joe. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think the optics, the relationship building, and the fact that your team is better for the one snap that Von Miller may be out there than they are without him. He's going to be ready week 1. Maybe it's only 50% capacity to what he would do normally throughout the season. But, opening week, Monday Night Football against the Jets, I struggle to see if he's ready now. If he says he's ready now and all he needs to do is get through the mental piece of it, get into practice, I just don't see how he's not going to be ready to go in another 10 weeks.
Well, and maybe it's not a PUP issue, right? Maybe he does avoid the PUP, but he's somebody that's listed inactive. Like you just let him go through practice and you see what it looks like. Because I'll be honest with you guys, right? I don't see any benefit to getting him out there the first 4 games of this season. I see no legitimate benefit to that. And I think it's an interesting, and John even mentions it, right? I'll put the comment up. It says, don't ruin Von until the playoffs. And I think it's an interesting dichotomy that we have now, because we look at Buffalo just as a playoff team. Come hell or high water, we're just assuming they're a playoff team. You look around the division and teams have gotten better. Yet you still look at Buffalo and say, oh, they're still better than, like, not better, but like leagues better than the competition just within the division. So you kind of assume Buffalo's a playoff team already. Do you think Beane and McDermott take similar approaches, or do you think they will be a bit more cavalier? Because that's the way I look at that. You play Von week 1, that's pretty cavalier. I don't see any benefit to you there, right?
Yeah, but if we're looking at it from the perspective of Von Miller, Brandon Beane, and Sean McDermott, and which one of those 3 has been to a Super Bowl and won it? Von realizes more than anybody 2 times now that it's a marathon, not a sprint, and he will know when to gear down, when to take not so much take snaps off. But I think if they decide to have a meeting and an agreement, be like, listen, you were only playing 55, maybe 60% last year. We want to start you in at half of that. Just your mere presence on the field will get the pieces where we need them to go, just so all these other guys can make plays and do certain things. I'm fine with that. I mean, I don't want to risk him the first 4 games of the season. I'm with you on that, Paul, but the sheer fact is no one knows his body better than he does. He has come back from a similar type of injury, albeit, as Ryan said, 10 years ago. I was worried about the fact that they might randomly drug test this guy, because you look at a guy maybe 10 years ago comes back, and it's like a miracle to come back from an ACL and play and have 14 sacks. A decade later, if he does the same thing, you're telling me that no one's going to drug test him and for what he's doing? Like,
it's like Adrian Peterson when he cut that commercial about him being the Wolverine,
Oh, geez.
But your first 4 games are the Jets, the Raiders, the Commanders, and the Dolphins. Those are your first 4 games.
2 divisional games, though, Paul.
I get the 2 divisional.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you'd see, what you'll see is, I think Von's going to be on the field against the Jets. I would not be surprised if, for whatever reason, he doesn't look himself. He is a little rusty. He struggles coming out of the gate. I wouldn't be surprised to see him sit those next 2 games, because they're obviously less important than that divisional game. But let's not forget, this is a team that refused, or for whatever reason didn't, shut Micah Hyde down entirely last season after his neck injury, right? He was on that injured reserve. They never said he wasn't going to come back. They never said he was done for the year. They just said he's on IR. So this is a team that very much seems to, same thing with Trey White, right? Like, they didn't rush him back out there until he felt like he was ready to go. This team has very much built a foundation of, we're going to trust our players to tell us when they're ready to roll. And Von Miller's, if he says, again, I'm just going back to, he's right. If he says he's ready now, and all he needs to do is get through the mental aspect of it, get out into practice, things like that, you got 10 weeks until kickoff. Like, what between now and 10 weeks from now could potentially change to make him think differently? Tweaks the knee, something like that causes you concern long term. But if he goes through 8 weeks, he goes through a full training camp, he goes through a full preseason, why not? Why not throw him out there week 1? You're a better team with him on the field. If he can go, he goes. And I think that's just what it is.
Snap, though, right? Like, he's not.
I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so. I mean, unless he wants to get out there and test it in full speed action. I don't know. But McDermott, Beane, they're to the point where in the next season or 2, they really have to start thinking hot seat type stuff. And if Von Miller is ready to go, he's got to go. You've got to get him out there. If it's a pitch count situation to save him for the playoffs, whatever the case, But you went out and got Leonard Floyd. You've added all these weapons. Your division's better. You can't afford to put anything less than the best team you have available on the field come week one.
But don't you think Floyd signed because he's like, listen, I'm going to get showcased the first 6 games of the season, and then Von's going to come back, and I'm going to continue to produce at the same pace I was, and I'm going to get paid. Like, don't you think that was part of his calculation there to look at it and say, listen, I'm going to be the premier one pass rusher on this team for the first 6 weeks, and then I'm going to come back. I'm going to continue to produce because Von's going to be on the other side of me. We're going to roll it back. I'm going to get paid the next year. This is a good move for me. Don't you think that played into the Floyd signing, though, for him looking at it saying, I'm going to be the one?
I think what played into the Floyd signing is that he's been an every down defensive end for almost his entire career. He sees an opportunity whether Von's there or not, right? If Von's there, there's still 60% snaps available on Von's side. Behind Von Miller and Greg Rousseau, there's a whole lot of not much when it comes to the Buffalo Bills in terms of the defense. So I think Leonard Floyd saw an opportunity. We talked about it. AK Cash just put it in the chat, and I know it's something I tweeted to you guys earlier, right? Like, I think of the NASCAR package that the Giants put out there. I mean, you roll out there in a passing situation, and you roll out there with Von Miller, Greg Rousseau, Ed Oliver, and Leonard Floyd. Like, good luck.
You run the ball
from a defense. Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's fine. But then you've got your safeties that you got to worry about, and all 3 of them capable of dropping into the box. So, I mean, I think the Floyd signing was more so whether Von's ready to go week 1 or not. 60% of the snaps on his side of the ball are available, and there's more snaps available on the other side because Rousseau's not going to be out there every down. That's not what they've used him as. So there's your snaps are there if you want them. And let me talk through some of the creative things that I'm thinking that this defense is going to look like with you there that could really show that you're still that 9.5 sack guy that you were last year in a good defense.
Damn, Ryan. Damn, freaking Ryan. Always snipes my point. I was about to jump in there and go, he saw Shaq Lawson and AJ Epineza was like, yeah, I'll get some playing time here.
Yeah. That's my competition. Von or not, I'm good. Like, I'll get time.
That's a great
no matter
point,
what. And to Mario's point here, just to jump on that before he finishes out, it's not like Buffalo hasn't thrown resources at that defensive end position.
Oh my God.
Like, we've thrown a lot of resources at that defensive end position. A lot. And you're walking around saying still the 2, free agents that the reason you drafted defensive ends was so you didn't have to play the free agent game with defensive ends. Yet here we are praying that we sign a defensive end in free agency. We get Leonard Floyd and we walk away happy. But the fact is, Bean's modicum is you draft the positions you can't afford in free agency. You can't afford a corner. You can't afford a quarterback. You can't afford a cornerback, and you can't afford defensive ends, and you can't afford tackles. So that's what we're going to draft. We're just going to keep drafting corners and defensive ends and tackles. And come hell or high water, eventually maybe they'll play, right? Like, that's because you can't afford those positions otherwise. Like, and I know Mario is going to go to that point in a second, but it's just it's Bean's theory in drafting. You draft the positions you can't afford, and that hasn't gone particularly well.
Well, no, I'll just double up on Ryan's point from before, talking about, there might be a hot seat around the corner if you don't let Von Miller be Von Miller. And if he's available and he's ready to play, then you let him play. But the second part is this: when you're all right admitting some of your mistakes that you've made as far as draft goes with AJ Epineza and, Boogie Basham. I mean, okay, you made those mistakes, and then you go out and get Leonard Floyd. I mean, that just earmarks, okay, yeah, we messed up that draft. Now we're going to go out and we're going to get some other guys that are proven here. You know what I mean? So, prior to that signing, I was sitting there going, Cameron Klein seems interesting. I don't know what they're doing with Shane Ray, but Cameron Klein seemed interesting prior to the Leonard Floyd signing. Like, I was like, well, this guy is, he's kind of a physical freak. What are they going to do with him? And then they're like, oh, okay, we need to get Floyd. Let's go. But
Leonard Floyd takes you from a wide open competition behind your 2 starters to, you've maybe got one more spot, right? You've got maybe one more spot for defensive ends, unless for whatever reason they're going to keep Basham because he can play all 4 positions across the defensive front. Epinesa and Basham more so now than before the Leonard Floyd signing are trade/cut candidates, big time. I think coming into training camp.
Absolutely, no question. Yeah. All right. Hashtag Nation, Bills Mafia. Thank you guys for joining us tonight as we went over the Josh Allen Madden cover and we talked about Von Miller possibly coming back week 1. Put in the comments your thoughts. Should Von come back week 1 or should he take a little bit more rest time and see what's going on? And let us know if you're going to be buying the Madden cover, the new Madden with Josh Allen on the cover. So for Paul, Ryan, and Joe, I'm Mario. We got to go film some more content. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button on the way out, and we are out of here.
Hello, fellow Bills fans. Sean Rogers, Realtor and lead of the Mr. Rogers Homes team. Did you know that real estate is one of the best ways to build wealth, and right now is one of the best times to own an investment property in Arizona? Please reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions so we can take the next step to your financial freedom here in the Valley of the Sun, utilizing real estate. As always, God bless America and go Buffalo!